Ready? Okay, let's get started, everyone. So today is exciting because we're going to learn something very different today that relates to our MBOA FLIX app. As you guys can see, I'm sharing my screen. I hope you guys can see everything fine. I'm just going to go back real quick into lesson 1 assignment. I believe I got 33 people who actually did the assignment, but 16 people who actually turned in. So I'm believing that I saw Alexine who joined us, and I think will join back. So if you haven't just done the turned in part, please do the turned in because there, it helps us to do the analysis. And also, very importantly, make sure you are developing MBOA FLIX same as I'm doing, because at the end of the sessions, and if we go back, you guys have a very interesting session. So let's actually go back again. By the 6th session or 5th session, that's kind of where the final software needs to be developed, and you add your own intuition, your own creativity to it with what you've learned, and that's when it needs to be submitted. So it may be submitted like a few days after the lesson 5, but I'm just saying that you should make sure that you're developing the software accordingly. Even though we're not requesting for you to submit it part by part, but it is actually very important that at lesson 5th, if you want to receive a certificate of excellence, certificate of completion, a recognition, possibly a reward, then you need to make sure that your app is ready by then, and then I'll show you how we can publish it, how we can possibly post it up to sell it if you want to do that as well, et cetera, et cetera. So lesson 6, we are having a special guest coming in from Harvard. She's a founder. Hopefully we're still kind of securing if that will happen, but she usually comes in our collaborations, and she's a founder of Hardcore Skills, and she has very great experience in how to transition with technical and soft skills into workplace or even start your business. So just giving you a little rundown of how the lessons are going to go. Okay, so today, what are we doing? We're focusing on how to insert the sign up / button, and also how to make things animated. Like if you wanted to animate your background, how could you do that when you're using the Tkinter library? So today we're focusing on Tkinter library especially. So let's get back into our code. This is what we've done last time, right? Let's do a quick run. Okay, I might just leave it at 90% because of the size of the screen. So we'll go over, remember to, I just immediately came here. I'm assuming everybody knows how to get here on Replit. So VNC, of course, open up the VNC, then open up the console. And then just get the app to work. Well, you open up the console, it should start working for you. If it doesn't work, then you can just stop the console, stop everything, and just go to play and it will run. So this is what we have. We've basically learned how to make things clickable. Our About Us page is working fine. Well, the clicking is working fine. The fashion works fine. So what we were saying, I'm not going to waste time just showing you how that's going to work, because eventually what will happen is I will be making maybe a little rundown video after this lesson to show you that all of this is going to be working, because I did say you should make all of them clickable, including these ones down here. They will all need to be clickable. So just to do a little revision, if you remember, how do we make things clickable? Okay, very easy. Just click the top edges, get your boundaries, and I'm doing that right now. And then if you go to your console, you are going to get your coordinates, as you can see here, even though it shows all this stuff. If you're going to get confused with all this stuff, just stop it, stop everything, and then just clear everything, clear past runs so you don't have anything there. Run it again. And okay, so this is Mrs. Kumo. And when you run it again one more time, if you don't want to see all this stuff being run, actually, I think what you can just do easily is just when you stop it and you go to workflow, you can just run the turtle program and then it will just run you the app, basically just this is what I mean. See that? So you don't have like all that stuff in here. But remember, I run the turtle program. So what I'm saying is when you click the top edges and the bottom edges, you get those coordinates, which would show you clearly here so you don't get confused with all the other runs. So you really can control what you're running here. You don't need to run the main. You can just run the turtle program, and that's pretty much it. So I get the boundaries. Remember what we have to do with the boundaries. You look at the numbers on the left, you pick the smallest, the largest. So it's like a range. Those are your X coordinates. You look at the ones on the right, pick the smallest, the largest. Those are your range. And then I said you have to still come back in here and put them there because this is all, if you look at your screen, this whole thing is all part of your home screen. So anything that you're making clickable here must be inside of this function. It has to be in the click function. Now, if you want to be smart about this, another way you can sort of do this, and maybe as we transition, you would see is maybe you have a separate function for it. So in case if you ever want to use the same page, you can just call your function. So I'll just do a quick run, okay? And then we'll move on to the next thing for today. So if X is greater than or equal to, like we did last time, and now I'm going to zoom in a little bit so that you guys can see me code. So I'll zoom in because I had to zoom out for the screen size. Now, according to what we have on the console, the smallest one is negative 634 on the X. The largest is negative 323. So I'll go back, negative 634. And then X is less than or equal to. Always give a space. It's a good idea when you're coding to give a space. And then the lowest one is negative 200 and I think 323. So I'm going to write that here. And then you do the same thing for Y, pretty much the same. So you can just copy paste in this situation. For Y, you take the smallest, negative 230, and then the largest, obviously negative 8. So you just go do that, negative 230, and then Y is less than or equal to negative 8. Now, obviously that was for, if you remember, just make sure you put a comment because you have to make sure at the end, we are going to create you a portfolio to showcase all what you've done for all these class sessions. And we're going to use another feature of Replit to create like a development timeline. So if your things are not coded, the AI is going to have some problem when creating some development timeline because not going to understand what you're doing. So just try to put comment. So comment indicates what was it for. And this was for, let me zoom out a little bit now. This was for the menu option that I had, the main menu option that was for clothing and styling. So cloth and styling, right? So I can just go put that there. So you can say cloth and styling, and then you can put like home screen because you might have this on another screen. And then obviously this is now supposed to lead somewhere. So for now, we're just going to put the same thing, open the turtle window and make it show that pop up and say, welcome to cloth and styling. Now I'm going to do a quick testing and then we're going to move on. So once you're done with all this stuff, stop it again. Okay, and then go again on workflow and run on turtle. And then come back again to VNC and then just click this stuff and you see it works, right? So this is fine. Hi, Kila. Hi, welcome to the lesson, Kila. So Kila just joined us. Okay, guys, so you saw that worked, right? So we understand. I just wanted to revise this a little bit. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. He says he can't join the lesson. So would you mind giving me like a minute? I need to stop sharing the screen. Just like a minute, okay? I'll stop sharing my screen just to give the link, even though this lesson I think is opened. So I'm not really sure. Give me one moment. I'm almost done, guys. I'm just posting the link. If there's anyone who can't join, I'm not sure. I think this call is open. Okay, guys, I'm done. So we can continue. I'm going to share my screen back again. All right, so going back, now we're moving to the next thing for today's lesson. So back again here. As I said, I'm done with the whole stuff of making it clickable, and I just wanted to revise that. Now, what are we doing for today? So today we're gonna now open up Tkinter. Tkinter is the second library that's the most famous one actually in Turtle, where you have graphics. I'm sure some of you may have heard about it. So you can put graphics like text box, radio buttons, checkbox, whatever. It's just like a normal graphics kind of compiler. So what we want to do is we're going to create another function, okay? And we don't have a picture ready yet, but we're going to get a picture. We're going to be inserting the sign up page, or should we call it sign? Yeah, let's call it sign up page. I wanted to call it sign up box, but it's fine. You'll understand why. We're going to create a function to keep everything organized, and I'll call this function sign up. So the idea, if you remember, is that we don't want them to access anything at least at the bottom, right? I didn't do the About Us page. I'll show you how you can do that one today. Fashion page, maybe just a little info about fashion. You can make everything at the top if you want accessible to them. It really depends on how you want people to access things on this app. And then at the bottom, you can make it only, they can only learn these specific things, how to cook this, how to sew this, how to do that, only if they are signed up or logged in. That's it. So what we can do is make maybe just the top accessible. It really depends. And then makes the bottom just not accessible except you're signed up or login. Now, when we finish this whole app, we're going to do vibe coding. What are we doing vibe coding? And that's why vibe coding is good. When you finish customizing a system the way you want it to be, then vibe coding can help make the system even better. So things that you may have not thought about, like extra features, functionalities, this and that, you can vibe code and add them to your app. And all of this is possible on Replit. And you don't even have to pay for it. It's free. So let's go to the next part. Now, this is what we're going to do. We're going to create something called root equals screen dot get canvas, and I'm going to explain what I'm doing. And then we're going to say dot winfo underscore top level. Okay, so what did I just do? Well, I am trying to switch between two libraries, okay? So what I'm trying to do is, assuming we're making, well, these ones are going to be free, okay? Let's say that's going to be accessible to everybody. Those are the top menus. This one, and this is again something you can do, by the way, so you can do this if you prefer. Do it this way. You guys, I don't know if you've heard about ASCII art before, but I think I have to show you that too. ASCII art is very important. So this is sort of like an ASCII art. Okay, so I'm going to put some stuff in here. I'm sectioning the code. So sectioning the code because this part is going to be the part that's not accessible, except, not accessible except by login, right? And then the part of the top would be accessible. So let's assume everything here will be non-accessible. So when they click on this first one to learn how to sew the cloth and styling for traditional Cameroonian clothing or fabric or whatnot, then instead of doing this, because we really don't want this to happen, I mean, unless we could put a pop-up, but we really want to take them to a window where they need to sign up or they need to log in. And that's what I've done here. Root is the starting of the turtle or Tkinter library. I would say turtle, let's say turtle. And when you say screen.getCanvas, winfo.top level, it just means that you're transitioning from this screen, the home screen, and you're going to a new screen. That's what top level means. Whenever you're dealing with Tkinter, you have to have a principal screen. So principal screens normally start like this. I'll give you an example right at the top. This is only a comment. This is not a code. Principal screen will be something like this. Root equals to tk.tk. This is a principal screen. Okay, this is like parent screen. And this has to always be in a turtle library, always. But because we're going from in a Tkinter library, my bad. Let me actually put it here. So because we're going from turtle to Tkinter, we need to do something like this so that the compiler understands that we're transitioning from the parent screen to the top level. Because usually when you open other screens, and I'll call them children screens, and this is like in Tkinter. Okay, like when you go and create more screens and you want to open from this screen to that screen and you're only using Tkinter library to do this, then you will always have to do something like this. You create like another one, maybe root 2 equals to tk.top level. You always have to go like that. So you would have your parent screen, then any screen you want to open afterwards, you would have .top level, and they don't have to be called root. They can be called whatever, but you have to always say .top level. And that's what we're doing here. So I'm going to put comments later on. I'll leave this for now. We're creating a second screen too. Right now we're using Tkinter. So pay attention. tk.top level. You notice I'm doing this, right? This is opening the parent, and you have to say the child screen. So you see the AI already recognizes what I'm doing, child screen. You have to say from where? From the parent. Okay, so let's assume this is your parent screen. And then the next thing you want to do is to give your screen a title. So what is the name of this screen going to be called? I mean, the normal name will be called sign up, example, whatever you want to call it. Then give your screen a size. If you remember, when we were dealing with the Turtle library, the way we size things was by putting the setup, right? This is the way we sized in Turtle. But in Tkinter, you have to say geometry. So geometry means the size of your window. And I'm going 1,376 by 768. Mind you, we don't have a picture ready yet, but we're going to get the picture. So whatever size you want, you can specify here. If you're going a mobile size, then you specify the mobile size. Just ask any AI online and it will give you the mobile size. Now, one thing I want to do is I don't want them to be able to resize the screen. I want the screen to open the way it is and nobody should resize anything. And the reason you will do this is because, well, sometimes you have a way how you want to display your stuff. And maybe you feel like if the user doesn't open the whole screen, there might be something that they will be omitting on the side or at the bottom. So you want to open it in a full screen that you think that any screen should see properly. So when you say resizable false means that the user cannot resize their screen. It will just open in the size that you've specified, which is above. Now, the next thing we want to do is start putting the picture. Well, I don't really need to give any spacing. I could just go to the next line. I just like particularly when I code to give spacing, that you don't need to. So we're opening the photo that we don't have. We're going to have to create a photo, and we'll go into that in a few minutes. In Tkinter, it doesn't really matter if you oh, by the way, this should be an image with capital I. And if you guys are wondering where I'm getting image from, do you remember when we imported a library called Pillow? We imported image image TK. That's actually what we're using for now. So we're using the image, we're going to use the image TK to basically put the image on the screen using the Tkinter library. That's why we imported them at the beginning. So I'm opening this Tkinter stuff. I'm going to resize the pic. Again, you kind of have to put the size. It's important, even though the main window screen itself is already sized, but you still have to specify your size here. So 1,376, again, by 768. Sizing is the same. I'm maintaining a consistency. Next thing I want to do is to put a label. So the way Tkinter works is like Java. If you have used Java Swing before, Java programming language, they don't just put pictures directly. You have to put it using something, whether you put it on a frame in Java, for example, or you use a label, and then the label is like the skeleton. And so the image is put on that label, because usually labels are for text, right? But you can actually use label to act like a frame holder. And that's what's going to put the picture on your screen too in this case. Remember that the screen we're dealing with right now is screen 2. The root is only just to transition from the first screen to the second. So now we're going to start off with this background. I'm going to call it whatever. You can call it anything. By the way, you can call this anything. If you notice that I'm just giving names, you can call them anything, but they should make sense to what you're doing. So I'm going to call this background image label. Okay, because that's what it will do. It's a label. I'm putting a label now. Label like you know what a label is. So it's going to be equals to image TK. You notice that the AI actually knows what I want to do, right? That's what this Replit does. It gives you AI suggestions. Just make sure you understand what you're doing, because even though AI can create code, it can create code that is straightforward, but not necessarily code that is customized and is making sense in terms of security and transition. So that all comes from you. So you kind of need to know what's going on. So here I'm going to put the image 1, okay? And then I'm going to put, what is your master screen? You got to say, where do you want this image to go on? The master screen is screen 2. Just be careful so that you don't make a mistake. So master screen, meaning your screen, the one you created. All right, so next thing you want to do is, now that you have this all done, you got to now put your label to set it to show. So this is one thing. What you've done here, actually, let's explain this. So this line of code, what does it do? It just displays, gets ready to display the image. That's what it's doing, getting ready. So it's saying, I need to display a picture on the master screen. So is getting ready, you just explain that, to display the background image. Remember, we're still talking background image here. If you're wondering how we put a picture on a picture, we're coming to that very soon. So this is going to do that. Now we need a label still. I'm going to call this label 1, that will act like a frame where we basically put the image on. So it goes on the screen. So this would be the label. This is how you create a label. Labels can be used for text, can be used for pictures, whatnot. So I'm calling my label 1. tk.label. And then usually if you really want to understand, and I think what I'm going to do is I'll do like a little easy note, like a cheat note, and I'll explain to you like how you create a label, how you create a text box, like just very single lines, so you understand what really goes in the parentheses, in the brackets. So here we're just going to put the first thing you do in Tkinter is you always indicate where are you going to be putting your label, where are you going to put your button, where you're going to put your text box, and we're putting it on screen 2. That's the first thing. In this case, if the label is acting as for placeholder for an image, then you have to put image equals. If not, if it's text, then you'll put text equal. And then you can put stuff like foreground color. What is the color of the label you want, which is FG, like the text color? What is the background color? So I'll give you more detail in text labels, but for now, let's assume this one is going to be used to insert picture. So this label, okay, is used to do what? To insert the background picture on the main screen. And what is the screen we're talking about here, which is screen 2, right? Just the frame, the outline. Okay, finally, the last things before we can go get our picture, then we test it out, see how it works. Now, remember, we're transitioning from one library to another. So there's no compiler out there that I know of that does this except Replit. Replit is like the #1 for this, transitioning and incorporating multiple libraries that are different, but at the same time within the same context. So the next thing we're going to do, which is the final thing, is just say label 1. We could do, I guess we could set it to this, or let's just do .pack. But instead of pack, actually, there's something I want to put before this, but I'm going to put it as pack. And then if it doesn't work, I'll come and explain and change it. If you say pack, you know what this does is that automatically it just places it on the screen. You're not specifying where you want to place it, X, Y. You didn't specify X and Y coordinates. You're just putting it on the screen. So that's what pack does, like places things on the screen, no X and Y coordinates. And so that's it. Now in Tkinter, if you don't do this line, nothing's going to work. So you got to do screen2.main loop. This is very important. If you don't do that, it would not show anything. So main loop means you're calling the Tkinter library to show, just like I would say maybe Turtle, but the difference in Turtle is that you don't really need to put anything except Turtle at the very end if you want to keep showing the screen, like what we did last time. If you remember, we did need to put the main loop. That was just keeping it showing. So here's the same thing. You have to put main loop. Otherwise, it wouldn't work. So we're going to try it. There's still a line that I think I need to insert, but I'll try it like this. If it works for this way, that's fine. Pack, remember, just places the picture, the label on the screen, the label with the photo. It doesn't really specify anything. So there is no X and Y positioning here. No X, Y coordinate positioning. So there's nothing like that. And there's a funny way in which Tkinter works when it comes to coordinates, by the way. It really breaks the law of math and what you understand on coordinates. Okay, so we can test this, but before we test it, we need to have this picture ready. So we need to go back to Gemini. And where are we going to test it? We're going to test it here. So basically, we'll just do this. Whenever they click on the question, ask them to, okay, welcome to clothing, blah, 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 then you call that function, the one we just created, which is called display signup. This is how you call a function to run. So this means that it will follow once it shows the pop-up message, they click OK, then this function will run. And what is it supposed to do? It's supposed to show the background picture. So let's go make the picture so we can come and test it. And then you've basically understood now how to transition from Turtle to Tkinter. And why do we do this transition? Because in Turtle, it's so easy to make things clickable than in Tkinter. You could do it in Tkinter, but it's a bit difficult. With Tkinter, you have to use labels. You have to place like a label, even though it's going to be invincible or transparent, it's still going to kind of show. And then you have to like put a boundary area. But with Turtle, you can make things clickable just by having this click function like we did last class. And that's it. And that's all you have to do. So that's why we're using both libraries. Okay, let's go make the picture. I'm going to go to Gemini. So gemini.google.com. By the way, there are some tricks on how you can make pictures. Let's say you want to create something where you want to put a famous person in the picture. Again, you have to be careful the way you do stuff like that because, you know, there's all these rights and stuff. But if you want to put a famous, maybe Albert Einstein or, you know, Alan Turing or someone or whoever, there is a way how you can do that. With Gemini, you can't do that, or any other app. They wouldn't let you. But if you have Google AI Studio, you can do that. So I might show you that maybe for some of you who want to do something creative with the picture. So what I'll do is, I already have this picture downloaded, by the way. Do you remember the background picture? What I want to do is make it simple. I want to blur the whole background, blur it out, and then I want the login screen to, the sign up screen, sorry, to show. That's what I want to do. But if you want to create a different style of the picture, then you can use this because you want to keep the consistency going. And because it's like a web software app, then you can upload it and say using this picture as reference. So you're going to see what I'll do, and then you can learn how to do this. So let's zoom in a little bit more. Okay, so I'm going to say, oh, that was capitalized. Using the picture attached here as referenced. And if you're wondering, I am going to attach the picture from clicking the plus sign, going to the photo. If you want to use this as a reference, if you want to create something entirely different, you can. I will say create or maybe redesign a screen with a resolution. You can specify the size, and the AI actually knows. So with a resolution size of 1376 by 768 pixels. To show, or you can say to include, sign up, I will say a sleek, I like to use this word, in vintage style, Cameroonian themed sign up box on the blurred, on a blurred out background, in the picture attached here. So you can just, you know, keep going, but of course put a period, put a punctuation where it needs to end, blah, blah, blah. I have kept going without putting much of punctuations, but I'm just correcting it out here. I'm trying to get the idea there. So then you can go back and read. So redesign a screen with a resolution size, blah, blah, to include a sleek vintage style Cameroonian themed sign-up box on a blurred out background in the picture attached here. Okay, so what would the box be? You have to explain, because you shouldn't put a text, you shouldn't put text boxes. That's something we're going to put with Tkinter. You shouldn't put a button. That's something we're going to put with Tkinter. All we need is just a nice sign up that's just going to have username, password. That's it. Maybe confirm password if you want. And then we put the text boxes and we put the button with the code. So what I'll do is the sign up box should have a username and password, a username text label on the left. You can go like a bit, just explain everything gradually. Yes, please, guys, could you put your cameras on, you know, because the class session needs to have everyone present. So just put your cameras on while you're there. So thank you, Kumo, for the reminder. So the sign up box should have a username text label on the left, okay? And then a password. I'm basically doing stuff like a baby, explaining it, because if you don't do that, sometimes if you say the two things at the same time, you won't get what you want. The AI needs to understand. So a password text label also on the left, side, and then there should be two blank spaces in front of those labels, right? Of those text labels on where? On the right side, And then you can say underneath, insert, maybe, or just say leave out. I wouldn't say insert, leave out a blank space underneath both labels. Okay, because you know why I'm doing that, right? Because I need a button. So I need to have like a sign up, and I don't need to have anything there. So that's pretty much it. There's nothing else to do here. Let's see what the AI is going to do. Switch it over to thinking. Again, switch it over to create image. Remember, if you don't see your picture, that's fine. Just send it. It is uploaded if it is there. And then wait and see what the AI gives you. And remember that you have Google Flow that gives you also great pictures. So you can go there in Google Flow and also generate 2 photos, which is something I like to do because I like to get the best out of everything. So wait till this one, while this one is doing it, let's not waste time. Let's go over to Google Flow. And Google Flow, the only problem about it is that even when you specify the size, it really wouldn't give you maybe the size you're looking for. Like we said, 1,376 by 768. So we might not get the size, but we can resize it, so it's not a problem. Here I will just upload, and let's look at the variations we have. Okay, variations means the versions, right? Different types. Switch this over to ×2 or ×3, whatever you want. Just make sure you are on Nano Banana Pro because that's the latest image generation tool on Google Flow. And then just send it. And then go back and check your Gemini. Let's check Gemini. Let's see what Gemini has done. Okay, look at what Gemini did. I mean, it's nice. It's not bad. I think it still has the idea, like, you know, if you're wondering, oh, but you said you need to have a space and it still put like boxes in there, it's fine. We're going to use Tkinter to put over, like to put text boxes over this, so it doesn't necessarily show. Another thing you want to do if you want to be really smart about this is that you can use Tkinter to put a text box exactly in the same position, and then it will look natural. It doesn't even have to look awkward, and I'm going to show you how. It's really easy to do that as well. So it really depends on what you want to do. So I'm going to download this and see what I get from Google Flow. Okay, look at what Google Flow gave me. I mean, Google Flow it doesn't look like it's blurred out, but I think it has a nice, you know, it has a nice edge or nice touch to it, but I really don't need all this big space. Like I don't need this stuff in here, except you want to put something. So that's not going to work for me in this picture. I feel like this one works a little bit more because it has the space and because it has this stuff. Again, like I told you, you can just put a text box in here. So yeah, somebody liked this one, right? Let's go with this one. Okay, so now what's the difference between the two of them? Let me show you the difference. This is from Gemini. And look at Gemini's. So you guys remember, this is Gemini, right? Now look at the size on my screen, 1,376 by 768, right? And then this one is 1,300. Oh, okay. Well, Google Flow also did a good job. It still kept your size. So good. That's very good. Usually it doesn't do that. So we're going to go with this one. Let's call this one, I don't know what we called it. I think we said sign up. So I'm going to go and drag and drop it into the code, and then we can test everything. So let's drag, drop. Okay, I'm not going to, you can drag, drop it from here, by the way, or you can just go back, open your window, drag and drop. And I have it here. Now, I don't know if this is going to show because this is like a not that I don't know if it will show. It will show if it's an image, but let's look at the extension is a JPEG. Did you see the extension, JPEG? So make sure you're changing that when you put the image right here. You have to change it. It has to be a JPEG because it can't be this. So it's going to be JPEG like that. Okay, let's see if this would show, or we need to convert it into a PNG because Tkinter is not picky like Turtle, but we'll see. So I think we have everything set up, guys. I think everything is ready. We have said that once they click on the cloth, it will go and it will open up this window, and this window essentially is supposed to open the picture. So let's go to console. Let's stop console. Let's clear past runs. Let's go to workflow. Let's only run Turtle program for now. And then let's go onto VNC. And I'm going to zoom out because, well, if you want to see the whole thing properly, this is the code run, by the way. And then I'm going to click on the clothing. Remember, I click OK, and boom, very nice transition. So I think it worked perfectly. And I think it looked good as well. So again, I'm going to repeat it one more time if you didn't see it. So it means that you notice that we don't have a problem with the JPEG extension. It actually ended up being fine. So that's the difference between Tkinter and Turtle. Turtle doesn't work with images that are JPEG. All the images have to be .gifs, 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 even though they're not animated. But Tkinter is okay with anything. So I'm going to run it again one more time so you guys can see. Remember, stop your run on console, clear past runs. Just go to your workflow and just run only the Turtle. You don't have to get everything run in here. And then go to your, your VNC. And then when you click clothing, remember what happens is that, oh, okay. And then no, you have to be logged in. So really what I want to do really quickly is I want to change the way this is going to say welcome. Instead of saying that, I'll say, please, I'm changing the message. Please sign up to access the cloth. What is that page called again? The cloth, the Togo cloth and styling page. Okay, so yeah, that would show them. So if they try to stop, and I think it makes sense when you actually put things that make sense for them to understand. So if they try to go back into VNC and they click on this, you see what it's saying is please sign up to access the Togo clothing page. You can't really access it, so it takes you directly here. Okay. All right. Now, the other interesting thing. Now, we're going to start putting in the text box, but I wanted to show you what I was talking about, right? I said, how can you put it exactly? Okay, so first of all, we have this page, right? We need to put a text box here and a text box here and a button here. Okay. Now, if we go over, okay, let's continue on this screen right here. I'm going to continue the code. Now I'm inserting text boxes. Do you notice that I'm inserting text boxes just before the main loop, right? You see that, right? So just pay attention to that one. Inserting text boxes. So what are the text boxes? The first one is going to be, like I told you, is going to be the username, and the other one is going to be the password. And like I told you, there's a trick on how you can make it such that it's perfect. So on the screen, we're going to start off by inserting the text box username. So let's say, oh, you don't need to give space, by the way, except you need to. So username, we call this entries, okay? Text boxes are called entries. I'm going to call this one username text box equals to tk.entry. There is another way how you can insert text box, and I think I'm going to put it in the notes. There's a different way, but we're going to use entry specifically because it's easier when you want to get, like, when they type something and you want to check if it exists in the database. So you put the text box, you put it again, the same thing. It's an entry. Where does it go? On screen 2. The next thing you want to do is the font. Okay, so what kind of style of writing do you want? Now you can go to Gemini or any app or anything and ask them to give you the different type of fonts that are available on Tkinter. Okay, so I can go with Arial, whatever. And then you put the size, how big do you want the text to be? So I'm going to put 15. That's in the more the number, the bigger the text. So 15 is like medium. 9, 10 is like small. Then you go over and you specify what do you want the background color of your text box to be. Now, this is where the trick comes that I was telling you. Background color, let's put quotation marks. We don't know. Foreground color, I'm going to explain that because that means what do you want your text labels to be. That means the text itself. What do you want the color to be? The background means like the background of the text box. Then the foreground means when they type text in the text box, what color do you want? Now there's a cool website called coolers.co. Remember I told you guys about this last class and I said I was going to show you guys. If you go to Coolers, you will access this website. It has a lot of montage of colors. You can also access colors online. I just like to use this one particularly because there's just so many colors to use, right? So many. So according to my picture, let's look at the picture again. I might want my text box to be like exactly this color. So maybe if I put it, it fits perfectly in that place and it doesn't even look artificial. So if you're not sure what the color is, you go to a website called Color Picker. It's accessible, by the way, online. Color Picker, as in not this one. I think it's this one, the first website. So this one, what you do is you upload your picture. Okay, so I'm going to do that right now. Not pick from screen. Sorry, my bad. Use your image and then upload your picture. Browse, go to that photo that you had, then click open, and then come here and click on the box, and it gives you the exact color you need. That's the hexadecimal value. That's what the computer understands. Copy that color, go back to our code, and then put that color here, like this. That would be your background color for your text box. Okay, the next interesting thing is the foreground color. What kind of color do you want for the text? Well, I mean, this is where you can use your own, like what color do you want? So I think I'll just go with the default black, really. Or maybe not. Maybe what kind of color do I have there? Maybe like the background, I have like brown, MBOA, brown something. Let's see. Oh, My bad. I clicked something. I might go with the dark coffee color. So maybe that. I might go with that color. So I'll just paste that in here. And really, that's pretty much it. And then you can do other stuff like the width and the height. I'm going to do it in a second label. That's why I'm coming down. The next thing you do once you finish setting that up, you need to now basically determine where you place the text box. So where are we going to place this text box? So we use the dot place method. This is what I was telling you from the beginning. Okay, I like to go with the X and the Y coordinates, but there should be some disclaimer here. The way Tkinter works, especially on the Y coordinate, is very strange or different from what you know. The X coordinate, just like you guys learned in Turtle, is that when you go more to the right side, you have a positive X, and when you go to the left, you have a negative, just like in math. Well, for Tkinter, the Y works a little bit opposite, not opposite, but the way it works is different. You usually would go to the more further top you'd go, the more positive Y is, and the further down you'd go, the more negative Y is, and point of origin is 0, 0. Well, for Tkinter is, if you want to go, if you have a positive Y, the more positive it is, the further down it is. Why? Because it starts to count positive Y from the top. So it's like you're taking your pen and you're basically trying to draw dots from the top. And as you go down, you're saying Y0, Y1, Y2, Y3. So you notice that as you further go down for a positive Y, it becomes the more positive Y is, the more down you're going instead of the opposite that you learned from math. So that's how Tkinter is. So in the beginning, I'm going to put this coordinates. I need it to go on the right side, right? You have to do a little bit of intuition here. I need it to go somewhere here. So where could that be? Well, you just put anything for now. I'll say 250 pixels towards the right, because it's on the right side maybe. And then maybe my Y, I'll say 150 pixels. And then you can adjust it as you see it. That's fine. Now we go over to the width. How wide do you want this text box to be in pixels? I don't want it to be too big, because if you notice, the text box size is not that big here, right? So maybe I go with, I'll try 120 pixels. And then the height, it shouldn't be too tall. So maybe I go with maybe 25 pixels or maybe 30 pixels, and then we see how it goes. You can always come back and adjust. It's fine. Oh, by the way, I have an error here because you have to put an underscore. You have to make sure that the names match. Okay, so that's all for the username. I'm going to copy this and do the password one, because that's easy. However, the password does have a little bit of a slight change, which I'll show you. There's an interesting trick. So password text box, let's go for password. That's what I just copy pasted, really, because it's the same thing, slightly different. Password, the color is the same. I want the color same. I want the text same, everything same. The positioning, obviously not same, because password, you have to come down, right? But you notice that the X's should be the same, because maybe you're starting at the exact same point. Let's look at the picture. So it is starting at the exact same point as the username. So the X would stay same, but the Y would change because it will come down. So the further, remember what I told you, the further down, the more positive Y goes. So this means that Y possibly maybe could be, maybe let's try 190, see how that looks like. If it looks odd, we can always adjust it. The width, I will go for 120. The height, still keep it the same, because eventually they would be the same. Now, where's the slight trick that we're going to do here? Well, because this is password, we don't want to show password. So you can put anything you want here. You can put asterisks, which you guys know about. When you go into a website, password never shows, except you click the little I, and then, you know, the I icon, and it shows the password or hides it. So this is masking the password, putting asterisks or putting anything. Even, I'm not sure emojis will work, because, and you can try. Emojis does sometimes work on the console, but not on the screen. So if you want to put like a smiley emoji instead while they're typing password, you can try that out. We can actually try it now and see. But I'm going to put asterisks. You can put anything there you want. I don't know. You can put @, whatever you want there to be masking your password. Okay, that's pretty much it. That's all for the two things, like to get the username. And we didn't put the button yet, but let's see how this looks like so far. So I'm going to go over to console, and I'm going to zoom out and stop it again, run it again. You know why I'm zooming out? Because the screen, again, like I said, just so it shows everything completely because of screen size. And then I'll go back to the main VNC. There it is. And then click on this, because that's what we connected so far. And then OK. And OK, so the text boxes aren't shown here yet. They're not on the screen. Okay, there's two reasons for that. It's either that your compiler didn't compile the code because the text boxes aren't shown anywhere else, right? You can't see them anywhere. So it's either that when you put the text boxes here, they're not being compiled. So compilation means that you have to make the AI to rerun this code from afresh, because it means that it's not like rerunning it to put what you've just inserted. That's the reason why. And we're going to do that right now and see the reason together, because there's no other reason. We've already positioned it here, so it should show on the screen. So what we'll do is just come back here and do this, where we'll say, tell your AI just recompile. And the AI, by the way, is by the side. I don't know if you guys saw it, but it's like a little purple icon. Just tell it recompile the program afresh with the new code inserted for username. And you can just give it a little bit of detail, password, text, boxes, and show them on VNC when the program is run. Just give it a bit more detail, and then wait for it, because sometimes on Replit it doesn't compile. So if it doesn't compile, it doesn't show you your changes, and we just made changes to it. So we need to make it recompile and see what's going on. Other than that, remember, we've already had the sign up showing. The sign up page shows all the way until here. But then with these new blocks, we don't see them. So I'm going to stop it and rerun it again, although I'm not going to. Oh, and also there is a little error. Actually, there was a little error here. Oh, my bad. This is supposed to have a hashtag. You see that kind of a mistake? If you don't put a hashtag, it doesn't recognize it as a hexadecimal. So the problem was that the color was missing a hashtag. So it wasn't the recompilation, even though that problem also happens, just keep in mind. But it was because the color didn't have a hashtag and it is a hexadecimal, it has to have a hashtag. So that was why I didn't pay attention to the error. It didn't come on time. So let's clear again. Let's go back now, since it's already, and you notice the agent also gives you the hint. So that's why it's good to use it sometimes. It gives you a hint if anything is not shown. So now we'll take it back again. Click on the color. Okay, look at where the text boxes are. You see, they're here, but there's a big problem. They're here, but they're not here. But they look very similar to the color, which means we at least will get them to get in here. Now, again, if you want to get them in here, you have to do the trial and error method, where you have to adjust and put them into the box, and we're going to do that. However, if you want to skip the time and go fast, what I will suggest you do is open another Replit and put this screen as a turtle, like what we did in the beginning. Remember, like at the start, this is a little trick you can do too. So like at the start, how we put it very easy. It was very, very easy. Then put a click function, okay, and make that program that you're opening like a test program. And then when you put a click function, just come here when you run it and click on this area, like particularly here, and it will tell you exactly what the coordinates are, what coordinates you can try. You could also use Gemini, upload this picture and tell Gemini, give me the exact coordinate where I will put my text box on username and password. And that may work. Actually, let's try it so you guys can see. So it just saves you the time, really. It makes things easier, faster, instead of having to like change, adjust, and see. So what I'll do is I'll upload this picture so you guys can try this out. I'll put it here and say, tell Gemini to give me the exact X and Y coordinates for the text boxes in front of the username and password text labels. Okay, that's simple as that. And then send. That's all. So let's see if Gemini is going to get it right, because it's an AI. It's analyzing the picture. It should get it right. So the username, it says you can go top 355 left bottom. So okay, here it is. Sorry, my bad. It's this one. It's saying username box should be at 562,390, and then password should be, again, you notice the X's are always the same. So 562,473. Okay, let's try that. Let's see if it got it on point. So we'll go back to the code, change that here. That will be your X coordinate. So it's 562. And then 390, that's what it says for the username, right? So just make sure you're checking. That's what it says. And then for the password is 562, 473. So 562, 473. Okay, so we've adjusted it. That should make a change. Go back to your console, stop again. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit more. Then clear, go to your workflow. If you want to run only just the, not have too many things in here, go to your VNC, click on this, click OK, and not exactly. So you can see, I mean, it did give you close, but it didn't give you exactly. So maybe the change of dynamics, the change of screen, but that's okay. You can do the rest yourself. It's much easier now, at least. You know that you have to make your Y less positive because you need to raise it higher up here. And then this one goes also here. So you also know this box should come somewhere around here, but slightly up because this would be exactly in the position where this one would go. So what I'm thinking is this. My Y, I'm probably going to make it like 280. Okay, I'm also going to increase the width of my box. I feel like it's short, so I'm going to go 160. For the height, I feel like the height is a little bit tiny, so I need thicker height. So maybe I go, instead of 30, I might go 50. And the same thing goes for the password, by the way. And I'm not zooming in because I want to test it immediately. Now, for the other one, regarding the password one, it should be somewhere similar to this one, but maybe slightly up. So maybe I'll go 380. If that makes sense. I don't know if you understood what I'm trying to do, but it was like in the same position of where the first one was. And then also, I want to take the X a little bit more further to the right. So maybe I'll go to 620, 620. So try that out and see how it does. So that way you can know if you're exactly close or not. So the width, I'm also going to adjust it to 160. So let's go back. That's why I told you trial and error method until you get it right. And then the more you practice on this, the better it is. But really in coordinates time, you see, I'm getting it almost there. But then I noticed another problem is that the box is too thick. So it's going to be too higher than this. It needs to be slightly in so it fits nicely in here. And then this one and both of them needs to go further to the right side, right? So again, use the same logic, reduce the box size, maybe make it 40, less than by 10. They both need to go further to the right, so I'll try doing 650. That might be a little bit further, or maybe 640. Let's try that. Then what is the other problem? This one needs to come, I think this one would be fine if we just reduce the size and move it to the right. This one, however, needs to go further up, so that means the Y needs to be less positive again. So that could go 340. And now try it again, see how it is. So you just do that a couple of times until you get it right. Clear. Then workflow, run turtle, and then have a look. Go back here again, okay it again, and almost there. So it's almost there, almost there. This one should move more to the right and longer a little bit and slightly down. This one should come slightly down. So that means Y has to be a little bit more positive. Let's start with that one actually. A little bit more positive. So it could be that you go 345 a little. And then you need to move it more to the right, so maybe 660. Then maybe slightly more in width, so maybe 170. And you've got to do the same thing for the other one. For the height, I think the height's fine. So then in terms of this one, it needs to come slightly down. So that means Y also has to be reduced a little bit. So maybe try 275. And then, of course, 660. So really is the way you're going to keep adjusting it. So that's pretty much it. And then we still have to put the button, but I don't think we're going to do that today because of the time, and I want to stop for questions. But yeah, the idea is, you know, getting it into the box. So you see that? Almost there. This one looks almost good. Still needs to go. This one needs to come down. It's going way high. So I made a mistake. I was supposed to make it more positive, and I made it less positive, which means going up, as I told you. So I could make it 885. That was what it was. And then I would increase for the last time and come back and answer some questions. And you guys can always adjust until you get it right. You understand the drill of how you do that. So 180 is now the width. I adjusted this to 285 because before I made it 275, I made a mistake because I needed it to come down, not go up. So I needed the Y to be, when you come down, more positive, remember? The opposite way. So, and then this one kind of looks okay. If it just, maybe the height is a little bit too much, that could also be reduced. I feel like it doesn't look like it's going to fit nicely. So maybe 37. And this would be our last try. And then I'll stop here and come back for questions, but console, stop. and then workflow, run, and then come back to VNC. Then, okay, you see, it's looking almost perfect, but you can get it to perfection if you just increase this a little bit more and bring it down. So the idea is there, and if I type stuff, you see that I can type actually, right? Typing is working, and it's also masking. I did tell you guys that you can try emojis. I really never tried emoji before, but I'll let you do that on your experiment. Here, we'll actually go the box, and then we have to put the code where we actually make it save stuff in the backend database, like as a sign up. Once they sign up successfully, then they will be redirected to go log in. So they wouldn't just get into the system. Log in would be where they would go. There's also something you can do here, which is you can put a sign up and a login. And I think that's what we're going to do. Because if they want to sign up, they will sign up. But if they want to log in because they already have an account, then they can just click login and go to login without having to waste time here. You can also make it that the system does sign up and log in, which not sure how that's going to look like, but it means like when somebody comes and enters an account that already exists in a database, it will allow them in. That's going to be a security breach, but you know, it's doing the same function. That could also just solve it, but maybe you do a security, maybe enter your passcode or something like that. Anyways, that's pretty much it. The next thing that I wanted to teach you guys, and I'm going to show you an example, is your assignment is going to finish the text box, right? You did the first screen, now you're doing the text box. Make sure the text box is replaced well. That's going to be your assignment for the class, and then you have the quiz assignment as usual. However, what I wanted to show you was how to animate stuff, which I think is pretty cool. So for example, I think I can show you here. You see how this one fits so nicely in the box? That's what I mean, put it in the box nicely. I'm going to do Kalina. Let's say there's a user called Kalina. She's a new user. Kalina signs up. She signs up successfully. Now I want you to pay attention to what happens. Do you see that I'm on the screen, and do you see that the screen is animated, right? So it's possible to make your screen animated. Now, obviously, what we can do is make the screen size match, because you notice that it's on top of the other screen. That's okay. We can destroy the other screen as well. That's another solution. But you notice that the screen is animated, this one that's playing for the login. That's the next thing I want to show you, how we can insert animation, and it's pretty cool and easy to do as well. Okay, guys, coming back to the classroom, and I'm going to stop here for now. Are there any questions? Kevin, I didn't say you guys should log out, because I saw 1 or 2 people log out. I mean, the class is still going for the last three minutes or so. Do you have any questions? Nobody? All understandable? Okay. Is Keela still here? Today we are 19 people. Like, guys, the attendance also matters, because that's part of the things we're going to be grading, like assessing you guys on as well, is attendance. And I see that there are 19 dedicated students today. Last time there was 33, today's 19. So that's going to be going on attendance sheet. And next class obviously is the next part of this. Just keep that in mind as well, because I'm going through the attendance, like looking through the names, and I'm going to try to know everybody as much as I can. So I might ask you for like a little brief portfolio, just like explaining who you are, and just to know you a bit better, to see how we can help you transition into a professional world where you can start creating software and start selling them and start, you know, putting yourself out there, and we can help you in doing that. Okay, someone posted something. Please, can you explain again the part of switching screens? Oh, right, the part of switching screens. Okay, let me see if I can explain that, but you guys are going to get the lesson video, and then you can go back. So switching screens, do you mean the screen as in switching to from the turtle screen to the Tkinter screen? If that's what you mean, well, what I did was I went and created a function, but you can play this class again, like the video when it's out. This is the function I created, right? But this function, do you notice that it doesn't have this turtle.turtle like we did with the first one? If you watch the first video, the first lesson, we only did this stuff. We did a screen.bgpic background picture. We had a home screen. We put a click function to make things clickable, and that was it. So what I did in this class was I had to go and create a new function, but this time I used Tkinter, and I put in the screen, which was sign up, the picture, right? The one we did. And that was how we switched the screens. So it basically switched from here, if you're wondering. When they click on that clothing icon, which you guys remember, it's this one. Once they click on it, it doesn't allow them to access it. Instead, it will take them to the sign up screen or the login screen, and that's basically calling this function here. So more details, I will suggest that you watch the video and pause and go back, but I explained that part. Okay, is there any other questions, guys? Anything else before we wrap up? You're welcome. Raphael, go ahead. Raphael is raising hand.
Good evening, Madam Alicia, and thank you very much for the class.
You're welcome. I can't hear you, Raphael. Yes, go ahead.
So I wanted to understand the concept is we are using images and navigating from one screen to another. All right. That means everything that we are doing is images wise, like we have to create it from there. Now we can make the image interactive.
Yes. Okay. Is that all the question you wanted to ask me before I explain?
Yes.
Okay, so yes, you're using imagery, well, you're generating images and you're making them functional into a system. The system could either be a web system, like a web app or software app or a game app, right? And what we're doing is sort of like a web software app in this case. So your images can also be edited, and that's something I'll show you next time on Canva, because sometimes some people might be good in art and you might actually draw something. I think this is also very cool. For those of you who are good in art and you know how to draw stuff and you want to make something very personalized, you can actually sketch it out, and you can make Gemini bring it into life. Like just patch it a little bit so it looks professional. And that's what you put into your system. So when you're planning as a system, who does computer science here? Like in university, when you learn computer science the first year, did you guys learn about the software development lifecycle? When you start as an analyst, you go into understanding your client, understanding what you want to do. Then you go into system design. Why I'm bringing this up is to answer the question of Raphael. In system design, what do? You sketch out the design, the templates of your system, of your app. And that's the same thing we're doing, is generating these images as templates. Then when you start to development stage, you start making them functional. That means you make them do stuff. Your images now become actually interactive, like you use the word Raphael. So that's pretty much what we're doing, but in a very short and straightforward concept.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions, guys, before we wrap up? Kila, I think we can wrap up. What do you think? I think it's time.
I want to first of all thank you for the class. It was good. Raphael, what she's saying is just to add more light to that. You know of user interfaces and user experience when you are building with Figma. That is, you are creating a template for the developer to work on. So it is like a practical class where we leave from the pictorial view, making it to be interactive. I think that is it.
Okay, so well noted.
All right.
All right, guys, it was nice to see everyone. Don't forget your assignment. Remember, at the end, I think Mr. Kila already mentioned, Ms. Kumo mentioned, is that we need the full software developed. So right now, the only assignment you have is just to make lesson 1 and lesson 2 work, which is to go back to see what we've done, to make the screen show, to make the transition from one screen to the next work. And then, guys, to put the text boxes, and then we still have to put the button, and then we have to connect to a backend, which is where full stack development comes a little bit into play. So that's something we'll do in the 3rd class, but just, get this done now for what we've done. And then add your own creativity to it. And I'll give you some cheat notes to help you. Ms. Kumo, you raised your hand. Go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. Okay, I wanted to talk in relation to your portfolio, so you guys should not forget. I ask everyone to start building a portfolio right now. Don't wait at the end of the class before you start. So you can always choose one day in the class for you to do your portfolio. So that's what I want to say.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Kumar. I think everyone got the message. Portfolios are important, guys. Again, we're looking for the best student at the end. This is something that we told Mr. Kila, Ms. Kumar, who have carefully put this program together from Nazli Tech. We're trying to reward the best student in the best way we can with the certificate of excellence and maybe possibly a reward, which we'll decide what it is. And we know we might have more than one student, but the best 3, of course, in the class that have the highest score. So really getting a professional portfolio is important. And I think that's something I'm going to cover next class, because the way you create your portfolio as a software developer is a little bit different. I don't know if you guys have GitHubs or you know that, because that also is very important when you're creating portfolio. But I might cover it next class, or maybe towards the end, like in lesson 5, that you can just get yourself started on Google Slides or Sites, or Blogger. Okay, thank you so much, everyone. Thanks, Mr. Kila, Ms. Kumo. Thanks, everybody. I'll learn your names later on. Have a great evening, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.
Thank you.
Mr. Kila, Ms. Kumo, I'll see you guys. I will talk again on WhatsApp.
All right. Thank you so much. So
You're welcome. Take care.